Today, we have with us Anand Rajaraman, founding partner at rocketship.vc and 1Mby1M Ventures. Anand, welcome to the show.
Hey, Shamana. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. How are you?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. So, Anand, let's start by introducing our audience to you as well as to your two venture firms. First, let's start with you, and you have a pretty interesting entrepreneurial journey. So, give a little bit of context of what path did you come through to reach this point, and let's get you introduced to the audience.
Got it. Yeah. So let me give you a brief background on myself. I'm from India. Grew up in Chennai in India. Went to the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, for my undergrad, and then came to Stanford to do my PhD in computer science. This was back in the 90s, when I happened to come to Stanford just as the internet was getting started in 1993. Got excited, got bit by the entrepreneurial bug, dropped out of the PhD program with a few students and started my first company, a company called Junglee. We were, we were among the earliest companies in the online e-commerce space. We pretty much invented the idea of online comparison shopping. The company ended up being acquired by Amazon in '98. It was Amazon's first public acquisition, first acquisition as a public company. It was about a $250 million acquisition. Ended up joining Amazon in the very early days when we were just selling books. But Jeff Bezos, even at the time, knew he wanted to sell everything under the sun. So helped Amazon create the marketplace, which we created and helped launch. I left Amazon together with one of my co-founders from Junglee, Venki Harinarayan. We got together post Amazon and started a venture capital firm called 1Mby1M Ventures. And 1Mby1M Ventures was one of the earliest. This started in 2000. Was one of the earliest seed capital firms. Institutional seed capital firms. We were primarily backed companies with deep technology, at the earliest stages. Ended up making a bunch of investments. That fund ended up being one of the top performing funds of its vintage, top 5% for its vintage, and many interesting companies developing exciting technologies. Post 1Mby1M. I started another startup together with Venki called Cosmix. It was one of the earliest startups in the artificial intelligence space. This was around 2007, before deep learning became a big thing. But artificial intelligence was, and machine learning were already out, and we wanted to commercialize those. We applied AI and ML to the web, to social media when it emerged. We were among the first to do sentiment analysis of social media, and so on. Cosmix was acquired by Walmart in 2011. It was a $300 million acquisition. I helped create for, Walmart at the time wanted to figure out how to compete with Amazon, how to get into the e-commerce game. What Venki and I realized is that to do that, you need to build a big team in Silicon Valley to build the digital capabilities to launch e-commerce. So we created a new unit within Walmart called Walmart Labs, set it up here in Silicon Valley, headed it up for a year and branded that as a cool place to work, and so on. And the Walmart Labs team is now over 7,500 people globally. I left many years ago, but they've still continued to grow that, and it's been helping Walmart in its e-commerce effort. So after leaving Walmart, I took some time off and then started my current venture capital firm, rocketship.vc, together with Venki and another partner, Sailesh. At Rocketship, we are doing global investing using data and algorithm. 1Mby1M Ventures, the other firm that you mentioned there, that's more of a family office that Venki and I have, where we make investments in companies that don't that are not necessarily for financial reasons.
All right. What is the fund size of Rocketship VC?
Rocketship, we are on Fund 2. Fund 2 is a $120 million fund. Fund 1 was a $40 million fund that's fully deployed. We started investing Fund 1 around late 2015. We have about 30 odd companies in the portfolio. And Fund 2, we've just finished, we've just raised, and we've just starting to deploy Fund 2.
And what is the stage focus?
So the stage focus for us is this. So we're not focused so much on the stage from a funding point of view, like a Series A or a Series B, but we are much more focused on where the company is in its evolution. For us, the sweet spot to invest is when a company has found product market fit, but before it has achieved massive scale. So those are the kinds of companies that we want to invest in. We want to be one of the earliest fund to invest in companies that have product market fit, but before they reach massive scale, and help them reach that scale. So typically, this corresponds to, depending on the region of the world, this might correspond to a Series A in some cases, a pre-Series A round in some cases, or even a Series B round in some cases. So it depends on the region of the world.
Let's dig down a bit on how you define product market fit and how you quantify product market fit.
Sure. So it would help to understand how we find these companies in the first place. So in a typical VC firm in Silicon Valley, and many of us are familiar with how they operate. And I've done one myself. We build a big network. And that network refers interesting companies to us because they meet the entrepreneurs and they tell us, here is a great company you should talk to, and then we talk to the companies and invest in a small fraction. That's how venture capital has always worked. It's a network-driven industry. What we're doing at Rocketship is somewhat different. We've built a huge database of startup activity all over the world, and this database has a few million companies in pretty much every geography in the world, and we collect a lot of data about each company. It's with team, with investors, with traction in terms of with its social media presence, articles, blog posts, all kinds of things, and then we run machine learning models on this data. And what these machine learning models show us is companies that seem to have a product market fit. And by product market fit, usually what we what we mean is that there is the product the company has developed, and the market seems to be receptive to it, and there is some early indications that the customers are adopting the product, and it's sort of it's different for a consumer company versus a B2B SaaS company, for example, right? For a consumer company, we may not care about monetization. For a B2B SaaS company, we may care about CAC LTV. So sort of it's very hard to sort of precisely define, but you know it when you see it. There is
you know it when you see it, but how would your algorithm see it? Like, for example, we have companies in our portfolio that have 1 customer, 2 customers, 5 customers, and they're like in the early product market fit kind of phase, right? And nothing is available about these customers and these companies in public. So how would your algorithm find these companies?
Sure. Our algorithms use a variety of things, and it's including things like social media presence and what people are saying, and including employees and other investors and things like this, to build proxy models for various things. And when there are actual customers and there is some actual activity, we track that as well. And we don't claim to be 100% accurate, right? That's not the point. I don't think we catch every company that has product market fit, and nor do all the companies we catch have product market fit. So at some level, we have a filter that surfaces a lot of interesting companies, and we talk to them and invest in some of them. The nice thing about this filter that we use is that it transcends our network, right? So at some level, we are not limited to companies that are referred to us by a network. We don't have particularly a good network in Brazil, but we have investments in Brazil. We have investments in Europe. We have investments in Asia and in North America, right? So the key thing about the data and the algorithms is not that we don't think they're exhaustive. No algorithm can be exhaustive, but it transcends our network.
What is the preferred check size for your funds?
We write about $2 to $3 million checks from Fund 2, which means that we could, if it is an A, we'd usually be a co-lead or be the second largest investor in the U.S. But in foreign geographies, we might even be the lead. In a pre-A round, we might be able to lead it. In a B round, we almost always be a participant.
Okay. Now, you said you do both B2B and B2C, yes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And you're doing globally, so you have no constraints on geography.
We have no constraints on geography. In Fund 1, we did no investments in China. China is a geography where we have very little experience. So we stayed away from China because that's a beast in itself that we don't understand. Which we are, that requires very specific skills that we don't have, which we will learn, which we might learn in due course. But other than that, we pretty much looked at every geography.
Okay. Yeah. So let's take a few examples, and I'm going to actually start you out with Cambrian Ventures investments, the company that you invested in from Cambrian. Mm-hmm. Give me an example of something that you thought was really cool, really interesting, did really well, and help us think through or help us understand why you invested in that company. At what stage did they come to you? What was it about that company that drew your attention and commitment? And what I'm trying to do here is basically in these use cases or case studies that we're going to do is try to understand the way you think about investing.
Got it. Yeah. So I'll be happy to do that with the qualification that Cambrian's investing model was somewhat different from what we're doing at Rocketship. With Cambrian, we were doing seed investing, so we were going earlier than we're doing at Rocketship. But that said, I can tell you about some of the Cambrian investments. I'll give you an example. One of the Cambrian investments was a company called Aster Data. Aster Data was one of the earliest big data companies. Started around 2004 and was started by three PhD students from Stanford. And one of those students, I teach at Stanford in the computer science department, big data machine learning. And one of the students, Mayank Bawa, was actually my TA for the class that I teach. And during the class, we were talking about how it would be cool to, MapReduce was just coming out from Google at the time. It was really cool technology. And how it would be nice to combine MapReduce with traditional database technology like SQL and create a new class of database system that combined the new wave of big data with the old wave of managing data. And lo and behold, these three students actually said they wanted to do that company. They built an initial prototype. And they came to me, and at Cambrian, these were the kinds of companies we invested in. We were looking for companies that with deep and differentiated technology, started by deep and differentiated technologists, and so we ended up writing a seed check into that company for at the time a seed. Back in 2004, you could do a seed round for $1 million and a half, and that's we led the seed. We put in $1.5 million into that company. I was on the board of the company. The company ended up winning a lot of early customers. Sequoia came in and led the seed. Doug Leone joined me on the board. We company continued to execute well, ended up being acquired by Teradata for about $400 million a few years later. So that's the story. That's a typical trajectory for.
How much capital did that company consume before finding its exit?
Maybe 20 million.
Oh, good. All right. Let's come to rocketship.
Remember companies all companies in the 2000s were reasonably capital efficient compared to today.
Yes.
Right, and I think, so that's I think that's that's something.
Well, especially the period that you were talking about was kind of this nuclear winter period of Silicon Valley, so companies didn't get that much funding.
Invest, let me tell you, in Silicon Valley, yeah.
Yeah. So let's come to Rocketship. From the first fund of Rocketship, give us an example. And again, I think what I drew from your first example is you like deep tech, you like people with similar background to yours who have this kind of very deep computer science background and are applying that to some technology problem, ideally data-oriented problems, and nowadays probably increasingly more AI, machine learning kind of stuff. Is that a correct conclusion?
That was a correct conclusion for Cambrian, but remember Cambrian was 15 years in the past. So clearly it was, now in Rocketship we have all kinds of companies that are not necessarily started by computers. I'll tell you about another of my investments that I did just after Cambrian, but before starting Rocketship, which I think is more the template of what led us to start Rocketship. And this was an investment that we made in 2005 or 2006, and it's a company you might know about. It's called Facebook. So we invested in Facebook in the Series A round in 2005. Yeah, I think it was 2005, 2006. Whenever the Series A round happened, the one that was led by Accel at $100 million valuation. So this was a company. But by this time, Cambrian didn't exist. We had already started our company, Cosmix. We saw that Facebook was getting, Facebook, when they initially launched, they launched within universities. And one of the earlier universities they launched was Stanford. Venki and I were at Stanford, and we saw that this company was getting a lot of adoption among Stanford students. That convinced us that this company, here's a consumer company with product market fit, that is getting a lot of early adoption among an interesting demographic, and we sort of said this would be an interesting company to invest in.
Did Facebook come to you, or did you go to them?
A bit of both. So as it happened, I mean, clearly they didn't need our capital, right? So they at that point they already had Peter Thiel's money at the time, and they, he was the only investor, right, at that time.
Yeah.
And they just launched to Harvard and then to Stanford and a few other universities. But within those universities, you could see the growth. At the time, I think Mark Zuckerberg wanted some advice that Venki and I were sort of in a unique place to give him. So he connected with us through a mutual acquaintance at the time, and we were able to give him the advice that he needed. But since we
what was that? What did he want to know from you?
Oh, it's kind of interesting. He had two offers for his Series A. One was from Accel, which he eventually ended up taking. The other was from the Washington Post company. Very few people know this, but the Washington Post company was wanted to invest in Facebook in its early days, and they and Facebook and Accel competed for that deal. Mark wanted to know who to take the money from Accel or from the Washington Post company. Now, the best way to do this is, of course, to talk to other entrepreneurs who've taken investment from these funds. Now, we were for Axel, of course, Axel has been a prolific investor if you talk to many people, but there are very few companies that have actually taken money from the Washington Post company. And in fact, the only one prominent one was Jungli, the company that went in.
I see.
So the Washington Post was the lead investor. When we started Jungli back in 1996, it's an interesting story. The environment, this was 1996. The environment is very different from today. VCs in Silicon Valley did not want to invest in companies started by students who had dropped out of college. Right? So this is very, very different from today. No, not a single VC in Silicon Valley wanted to touch us with a 10-foot pole in 1996. And the Washington Post company happened to be our first customer, and they also became our first investor at Jungli. So today the environment, of course, is very different.
But you discouraged Mark Zuckerberg to take money from the Washington Post?
No. Actually, we actually gave him the pros and cons and of the situation. We really enjoyed working with the Washington Post company, frankly, and they were on our board as well. It was a great relationship. I loved working with them. Very forward thinking for a newspaper at the time, and and I'd also worked with Axel in the past. We co-invested with them, sat with them on boards at Cambrian, and that's when Axel eventually ended up being an investor in Cosmix as well. So we had a good relationship with both. So we gave them the pros and cons, and we said, look, here are the pros and cons. Obviously, you're the entrepreneur, you're going to make the decision. But the one request we told him was, whoever you decide to invest, please let us invest alongside. Mark Zuckerberg was good enough to honor that promise. So that's how we started investing in Facebook. So yeah, Facebook is so that's, I mean, at some level, Facebook was kind of the prototypical example that motivated us to start Rocketship. We invested in Facebook at the early sign of product market fit. When we could see it being used by lots of college students, we could see the engagement, we could see the adoption. There was no marketing driving this. There was no customer acquisition. There was no CAC. There was zero CAC, right? No business model, but that didn't bother us, right? So that's what, and we found Facebook because we happened to be embedded in the Stanford ecosystem, and we happened to come across them. But that is, so what we really wanted to do was we got somewhat lucky there in spotting Facebook. How do you sort of take that luck and make it systematic, right? And that's what led us to start.
Yeah, definitely serendipity. Well, I think the characteristic of Facebook is hypervirality, and my thesis is that if you want to do, blitzscaling, as Reid Hoffman calls it, you kind of need hypervirality. Otherwise, putting that much money into a company with no validation of how it's going to make money and so forth doesn't work unless you have this extraordinary levels of virality.
That's fair. That's true. But remember, Facebook, compared to the startups of today, was actually very capital efficient. They didn't raise that much money.
It was very capital efficient. I actually use that as a case study all the time, which is why Zuckerberg ended up owning so much of Facebook even after all these rounds of financing.
Both
phenomenal.
Google and Facebook were both super capital efficient.
Very capital efficient.
Compared to the companies that came later. So I think that model works. I think I'm more worried about the capital intensive scaling models that we
I don't like that model at all. So that actually was one of my questions to you is, do you like that model? Are you into this hyper scaling, blitz scaling with huge amounts of capital?
I'm not a huge fan of the model, frankly. It seems to be, but unfortunately, it seems to be a reality of our times. It's not something that I can wish away, right? But it does seem to be a feature of our times. I worry that there's so much capital sloshing. See, one of the nice things about environment where there is some capital constraint is that a good entrepreneur and a good team,
get to figure it out.
get sorted out, and they can they will get the correct, they will get funding. The weaker ones won't get as much funding, so you won't have companies sort of bashing each other's brains out with marketing dollars, right? So right, so and the problem with that, with this, one of the problems we have in the current scenario is that if you have any kind of interesting market opportunity that's uncovered by a company, which can be served by a commodity product, okay, a product that doesn't need a deep innovation, then instantly 10 other companies will pop up, and there's enough capital that they will all raise large amounts of capital, and then it's a race to the bottom in terms of margins, because they will all spend money to scale. And
absolutely. Terrible markets to be in.
So you might actually end up having spaces where there's huge consumer demand, right? Where there's huge consumer demand, there's you know, and there are 5 companies on which are profitable.
Right. So let's do one example from your rocketship portfolio that illustrates more of what you're doing today.
Sure. So I'll give you an example from India. We are an investor in a company in India called Moglix. Moglix is a company based in Delhi, and they are in the B2B e-commerce space, business-to-business commerce space. What Rahul Garg, the founder of Moglix, observed was that India's industrial base is modernizing, and as industrial base modernizes, all these factories have to operate 24/7 and not have downtime and so on. But factories often run out of consumables like lubricants, like fasteners, like motors, like safety equipment, and so on. So what Moglix does is that it integrates into the ERP systems of factories in India, and as they run out of consumables, there's a marketplace behind from which those consumables can be supplied. So what really helped this company take off is the change in the tax regime in India, the introduction of the Goods and Services Tax, or GST, which made it necessary for companies to change the way they do record keeping, so that to claim tax credits now you need much more detailed records of your inputs, and so Moglix became also the place that enables you to keep track of all that. Plus, there's also the marketplace behind that actually supplies the product. So so the company has scaled really well. They've been one of the fastest growing companies. I think somebody Inc. or somebody called them the fastest growing company in Asia outside of China or something like that. So
B2B e-commerce is a very interesting space. I've seen a lot of interesting companies in B2B e-commerce, and especially in markets where it's immature, like India, where the attention has been more on the Flipkarts and Amazons. I think it's a very interesting space that hasn't been over-invested yet.
Yes, so the company rapidly invested to 2017 or so when we invested million in revenues, a significant amount of funding, 3 rounds of funding we invested, and they're scaling rapidly. So that's B2B. That's kind of the prototypical company that we look for, where we come in early, but then the company continues to scale up. So that's an example in the B2B e-commerce space. But we also do kind of more companies. I'll give you another example out of India as well. One is a company called Moglix is not just in India. Their customers are in 40 different countries in Asia, Southeast Asia, and so on. So another company out of India is a company called Locus. Locus is it's actually a technology company. They provide machine learning driven models for logistics optimization, optimizing deliveries and scheduling and stuff, with large fleets and so on. And it's founders out of BITS Pilani Goa in India, and the company is based in Bangalore. And they came up with these algorithms, and their early customer wins were the people who had to do lots of deliveries in India, which is like people like Myntra, which is a division of Flipkart, right? And it was a customer, and Blue Dart, which is one of the biggest delivery services in India, uses them. Big Basket uses their software, and so on. And today, they've also expanded to Southeast Asia, Indonesia. The biggest e-commerce players use them, and they raised a big round of funding recently from Tiger, and they're planning to enter the U.S. market now. So that's another example of a company that we invest in. That's
so India, you are very big, very bullish on.
Yeah, sorry.
You're bullish on India.
Yeah, India has been an interesting story for us because we actually had very few investments in India from our fund as of 2017. But after 2017, we've sort of seen very interesting things happen in India. And this is largely data-driven. The data led us there, right? So we didn't...
The quality of companies from India is improving greatly.
Sorry?
The quality of companies out of India is improving greatly.
Yeah, the quality of companies coming from India is improving significantly. I'm saying amazing entrepreneurs. When I talk to entrepreneurs from India, it feels no different from talking to an entrepreneur from Silicon Valley.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And many of them have worked here, gone back there, and doing this bicontinental thing, and it's become a very fluid model. We have tons of this model in our portfolio.
Right.
I will ask you one last question, and then we're going to switch to the entrepreneur pitch, which is, so the check size that you were writing is actually very much in our comfort zone, in the sense that we actually like the philosophy of bootstrap first, raise money later. Mm-hmm. And we have because we work a lot in geographies where bootstrapping is very popular and almost essential in many cases. Entrepreneurs are being very scrappy and getting to product market fit with very interesting bootstrapping models and so on and so forth, and building good companies, good products, etc. Maybe it's a bit slower than it would be with early capital infusion, but it also forces them to really look at the fundamentals, look at the discipline, look at the why customers are buying, and so on and so forth. So we actually like this model of taking companies that have more or less been able to achieve product market fit on their own, or maybe with a little bit of friends and family financing, maybe a small amount of angel capital, and then really going into a small Series A, not like a $7 million Series A, but more like a $3 million, $4 million Series A, maybe even $2 million Series A. And I think that's what, out of this conversation, that's where I see a good fit between what we are doing and what you are trying to do.
No, that definitely. I think I'm a big believer in that model that you scale after you find a product market
fit. Yeah, very good. Anand, thank you for coming today, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, thanks, Anand. Sorry, I need to drop off now, but it's been great talking to you.